So thank you so much again to Paul and Rob for being here with WolfVision. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. And it's nice to be here. One idea that we wanted to get across is that we may be much more than what most people realize. WolfVision's been around for about 45 years. We're a European company based in Austria. Our U.S. headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia area, which is where we happen to be right now. We're in the middle of sales meetings. Most people know us for our what we call our visualizers. And visualizer is just our word for document camera. We're okay if you want to call them document cameras as well. But we want to spend a fair amount of time also on the other half of the catalog. We want to hopefully leave you with the idea that WolfVision is also a very deep resource for presentation technology of all kinds in a wide range of different types of rooms. And so Rob knows the slides better than I do. Let's skip ahead. Let's move ahead here to. Ooh, we're too far along. We had more visualizer stuff there. Yeah, we're in the middle here instead of at the beginning. We're going up, up. There we go. Yeah, so here's the short form version of what you'll find when you reach into the WolfVision website or the catalog. You're going to see the visualizer side of the house, and you're going to see the Synapse side of the house. So we'll give you just a quick, fresh look at the visualizer side of things. And visualizers get divided into two halves, the desktop side and the ceiling mount versions. So here's a quick look of what the desktop visualizers look for us right now. Starting down at the bottom with the little VCam, or officially it's called the V Solution Cam. We call it VCam for short. That is our most affordable desktop visualizer. And then we go into two other form factors. You'll see these cylinder-shaped ones that we call the Neo models. So we now have two different Neo models, and both of those Neo models have been updated to a whole new generation where they're natively 4K output, and they have a whole new set of processing and optics and camera pickups. They're just absolutely beautiful from an image quality standpoint, and we're well known for having extremely high quality, long life, great support, and all of that just continues to roll forward with newer technology and the 4K models and so on. And just above the two Neo models, you have another new generation we call the Vz8 Uhd. That one is kind of more that, I guess, maybe more traditional form factor where you have a camera on a folding arm, so that that arm just kind of collapses down into a small footprint. Where in the Neo models, that whole cylinder just kind of lays down. So just nice choice of different price ranges and nice choice of different form factors, and always just the best possible quality you can get in a visualizer anywhere. And here's one of our favorite things about the Neo models is that they have an optional mounting system. Instead of the cylinder just laying down over the base, you can take that base away and mount it in what we call the swivel format. So there's a swivel mount at the base of that cylinder. That swivel gets mounted into the furniture, and now your Neo visualizer lays down, but it also rotates 90 degrees to one side. So there's just nothing like that anywhere that brings you such a high quality visualizer that takes up such a small amount of footprint on your work surface. And it gets out of the way so nicely when it's not in use. And here's a better picture of the 8 Neo, I'm sorry, the 8 Uhd, sorry. This looks very much like the previous generation Vz8 Lights, Vz8 Plus, but it's completely new under the hood. And I'd welcome any chance to come around and arrange a demo. Anybody that wants to see what we believe is the best visualizer anywhere on the market in terms of image quality, at least. So that kind of brings you a bit of a refresher on the visualizer. So I'll shift over to Rob here to maybe start setting the stage for a little bit of familiarity on the sign-up side of the house.
Well, thanks. I think one of the interesting things about what people don't know about WolfVision is that we've spent the last 6 years developing a few products that have become sort of the de facto standards in certain markets, particularly upper education and the courtroom market. Those products are called sign-apps, and they fit into the absolute center of most of the integration world of a room, what you need to develop and utilize a room. And this visual kind of illustrates that. You have sources that come into the environment, right? And you have sources that need to leave the environment, either that get processed and come back into the same room, or these days more and more need to be processed and sent anywhere in the world, maybe to be shared by any and everybody. So our product, we believe, sits at the center of all of that very perfectly for a number of reasons. It really comes down to a simple premise of any source in an environment. How do you control that source very easily? And how do you output that source, whether it's audio, video, content, whatever it might be, anywhere you need it to be, whether it's wireless, wired, whatever you need, anywhere in the existing room or anywhere in the world. This solution fits in a myriad of types of environments, right? So the traditional class or lecture room, which we're all familiar with, these environments are really well known to us because this is where we've done so well for so long. But it's really, again, any source to any screen and giving it simple control that we'll explain a little bit more, whether that's hybrid environments or whether it's a traditional lecture type of environment. What's so popular now are these active learning spaces, right? Spaces that are designed by educators to involve more students working on independent projects, either within the same room or now external of the environment, and sharing that same information within their own group or anywhere on the network, so to speak. So we do this in a very clever way. It's all built into the architecture, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with simple drag and drop tools that we provide. Here's an example of one of our environments set up from from a standpoint of a speaker station where they can control the whole room. It's done through simple control systems that are built into the ecosystem, built into the system. This is an example of how an instructor could simply drag and drop whatever's on their screen or whatever's on a student's screen or one of these active learning spaces to any other place in the room. Here's another example of that same type of environment. Paul, this is something you're very familiar with.
Well, now this one's in Florida, so it's not my
Okay.
project, but this is a great example of a lot of different active learning spaces and are ultimately kind of similar, where you got the master and you have multiple student tables where groups work together independently, and then the instructor has the ability to share screen content throughout the room and also push out to remote participants.
We also do the same type of things in the corporate and legal environments. These tools, the sign app, work equally well in any size room, specifically in the legal market where we've really found a home. Other tools can be added that are just part of the ecosystem, like security updates, or what we call signage light can be adapted for the product now too as well. All through a network management system that's very tightly integrated. You can also control the entire ecosystem from remote devices, which is becoming more and more popular. Here's an example of being able to start a Zoom call from your phone and having it work right through the sign app product that's built into the rooms. You can do this equally well with Zoom or Teams. We're native to both, and it's again, we give you that if you want a non-touch environment, but we give you the ability to have a simple user interface to start these calls, to end them, and to participate in the entire meeting. Here's a simple line diagram of a sign up set up in the most simple form that you could. Simply an internal network. We can set up through a guest network. What's really unique about the sign up system is it has 3 separate network cards built into it, wireless and a NIC, so that we can separate out the guest network and handle any other security concern or most other security concerns that come up. We've been known for this for a long time, and this is one of the real strengths of our ability, particularly in a wireless environment. Paul, you want to take on our family?
Yeah, just from a hardware standpoint, there's currently 4 models in the SignApp family, and at the simple end, you have just this little SignApp Pure model, the small one you see at the bottom in the middle, and it's really all about just bringing BYOD, just bringing mirroring and casting capability anywhere that's needed. And our approach to wireless BYOD is to support the native protocols that are in all of our devices anyway. So we're natively about supporting AirPlay for Apple devices, Miracast for Windows devices, and Chromecast for Chromebooks and some Android things. So those are the 3 native casting technology, and that's our job, is to be a receiver for all 3 of those protocols. So we're built around that native capability rather than an app or a dongle. And we also we're not about recurring license costs. So you buy the product, it comes with firmware updates for its life, and your user experience is no apps, no dongles, and so forth. So that's the idea behind the WolfVision mirroring. And the other sign-up model. So that's the simple end of sign-up. And as you go up the line from there, you get the larger ones, and they quickly become an all-in-one solution, where you saw the different sources and destinations with the sign-up in the middle. So in that huddle space, the simple classroom, or the more sophisticated boardroom where you need dual displays and deeper capabilities like streaming, recording, capturing, conferencing, and so on. So it goes on up to where a full sign-app really becomes an alternative to what would be a traditional workup. Historically it'd be a rack full of separate equipment that we've condensed into a single appliance, much like our phones that used to be a bunch of separate things we had to drag around, and it's all been consolidated into one smartphone. So a sign-app, if you want to look at it that way, is an all-in-one audio-visual presentation technology solution, depending on your room's needs.
One of the things that's kind of exciting about the sign-up family is that it scales so well. So our ability to place the right piece of hardware to handle the type of room that you're trying to do, or the different types of rooms that so many people are trying to do in a facility, whether that's a simple room, a more complex room, or a very complex room. The way it looks, feels, and works is almost identical across the entire spectrum. All you need to do is consider, well, how many ins and outs do you need, and what kind of special services do you need on the product that the particular unit might have or may not.
Yeah, you can put different models throughout the campus, and nobody would necessarily even know if they're in a room that has a big sign-app or a Pure Pro, because the things they have in common are identical. So your user experience is what's right for that room, and it's identical where they have needs in common from room to room.
This is just showing, of course, that as the product goes up in size, it facilitates more inputs and outputs so that you can connect more things to it. Here's another attempt to really boil down what a sign-app is, because sometimes it takes a few times looking at one to really understand what we're talking about, but it really comes down to what holds that room together. Whatever source walks in that room, or whatever source is existing in that room, the sign-app is designed to connect to it either wirelessly or wired, to massage it however you need it massaged, whether that's because you need it to be wireless through BYOD, whether you want windowing capabilities,
or apply some annotation.
browsers built in. All kinds of services are built into the Sign app. And then you can push it out anywhere you need, obviously back into the same room, either wirelessly or wired to a projector or flat panel. But you can go beyond that and, of course, now push it out into the world via web conferencing or streaming, casting, all kinds of other services that may or may not be required. You don't have to use those services, but it's there. It's part of the ecosystem ready to go. Another simple way to just try to put the nail in that is that it really is designed to just work in any type of integrated environment. Any input in, any input out, and to be able to control it as simply as possible. Here's a few links to some projects and some case studies that we have. We'll distribute these after the call. You're welcome to take a deeper dive into how others have found these tools so valuable, and our contact information will be attached. And once again, thanks so much for this time.
That's it. So now do we stop share?
Any questions at all?
We do have questions.
Great.
Which models are direct to HDMI?
Pardon me?
The question is, which models are which models for the document cameras are direct to HDMI?
Oh, every single visualizer we make, its primary output now is HDMI, but most or all of them also, well, all of them are also capable of being a webcam. So your video output can happen over HDMI. It can happen by way of a USB link. So every WolfVision visualizer can function as you would connect to a webcam. And this can work simultaneously. So I can take my HDMI out at the same time I'm connected by USB, and also all but one. Only the little VCam is not capable of streaming output. From the Vz8 Neo UHD up, all can also have a output streaming, and it's H.264 still.
Excellent.
So 3 ways to get signals out of a visualizer.
What level of warranty is provided, and how long is it active for the SignApp product?
I know our standard for all of our visualizers is a 5-year warranty, and we do great support, great service. If you ever do need to get a piece of equipment worked on, it comes into Atlanta typically, and it's rare that we ever need to have a piece of equipment on our bench more than like 1 day.
Great. What about, for the SignApp product, it says,
What's the warranty on the Sign app?
yes.
Yeah, so sign-up products all have a 3-year warranty, but there's an option, I think on all of them now,
Yep.
to up that to 5 years.
Great. And what's your availability like?
It's actually been quite good. We got on the Vz8 Neo, we ran into some delays late in the summer. And just because our demand for the 3 Neos continued longer than it normally did, it was just a good year, a lot of demand, and it actually created a situation where we ran out of materials for Vz8 Neos, and that forced us to bring forward the new UHD version of it sooner than we'd intended to.
So we've been really blessed that we've not been out of stock on most of our products throughout this whole pandemic.
Yeah, right now the only things that there's any lead time on are the 3 Neo UHD, just because we ran out of the old 3 Neos before the 3 Neo UHD has arrived. So we'll start seeing the 3 Neo UHDs in late October, I think is our first shipment. And then also at the high end, and it'd be pretty unusual for anybody in this boat, but the Vz9, the flagship model, we had one huge order that's occupying everything we can build on the Vz9 9.4F. So there's only 2 things that have any particular lead time right now.
Great. I have another question here. It says, I love that it's running Linux, but how locked out of that OS, how locked out of it how locked out is that OS from someone tampering with it?
Oh,
Yeah, it's completely locked out.
yeah, it's completely locked out. We run a custom read-only Linux kernel. And so you would have, I mean, I'm not a network security guy, but it's generally a kind of a good selling point, the fact that we are a lockdown read-only Linux. So you would have to work really hard to break into our back end of it. And even if someone does find a way to put something malicious in there, it can't survive a reboot. Yeah, you reboot the thing. There's no way to, because it's read only, it can't write that malicious something into the OS and do anything because
So it's super secure.
it's very secure. And apologies, neither of us are the network security guys, so
Not to worry.
we generally get great response from, and we got good resources too. There's a network security there's a security white paper that we can get anybody that wants to take a closer look.
Great, and we'll have your contact information on the screen shortly so that people can request that white paper. It seems like you may have already answered this in terms of the HDMI, but it does say, what are the connection options? That's another question we have.
On sign up or visualizers?
The question wasn't specific.
Okay.
So why don't you answer both? So for the
Yeah.
visualizers, I know you mentioned HDMI and also working as a USB webcam, but
Well, there are so many. It's hard to mention them all. But you have HDMI in and outs. You have network connectivity, right? Standard network connectivity. You have a USB, and you also have what am I forgetting here, Paul?
Yeah. Well, there's the wireless, the BYOD IO.
Yeah.
So take the big sign app, for example. It has 2 physical HDMI inputs, 2 physical HDMI outputs. So that's kind of where your dual screen room gets supported that way. But even though you look at the back panel, it doesn't look like there's a lot of IOs there. A lot of them are virtual because the networking, a sign app functions as a streaming decoder. So we can have up to 20 streaming sources as virtual inputs. We can have, and this is in addition to the 2 HDMIs. So lots of streaming input capability, lots of BYOD input capability, USB, even two of our USB ports can be repurposed as additional HDMI ins if you want. So it's a lot of inputs and outputs, even though it doesn't look like it just on the surface.
have you seen your solutions being used in hybrid environments on a frequent basis?
Yeah, I mean that's almost any time we sell a sign app, it's part of a room that also has remote conferencing capabilities. And sometimes the user looks to that sign app to do the conferencing to support the remote users. Sometimes they've got traditional conferencing solutions with codecs, or maybe they just want to use the sign app's HDMI input and use a laptop or some other device to do the conferencing. So yes, we see almost anywhere a sign app goes, it's a hybrid environment. And sometimes we're running that conference, sometimes we're not.
Sorry to interrupt you. Are you currently using a webcam / visualizer for this presentation? And if so, what model?
We are not currently using a document camera right now.
Just the camera on the computer.
Yeah, I've got a nice Jabra combo camera, mic, speaker system, and a Windows laptop.
Okay. Do you find most of your sign app and visualizers used in education or corporate environments mostly, or are you seeing it in both?
Yeah, it's some of both, but historically we've done so much work in higher ed because of the visualizers that's where the majority of our sign app business has gone so far. We do lots of active learning spaces, lots of simple huddle rooms, lots of simple BYOD. But yeah, for us, we're heavily skewed towards higher ed, but we're doing more and more corporate.
Yeah.
And the court business is growing real quickly for us.
For sure.
How do your visualizers work with Kramer switchers? I used to know a person that worked for Kramer, but he switched. Sorry, this is a question.
Yeah. There's no reason our HDMI output couldn't be supported by pretty much any standard HDMI switching routing equipment. Scalers, switchers that, yeah, we're completely agnostic about what other devices connect to a visualizer or a sign app. We're big on standards.
Wonderful. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for this presentation. I do have one more question here. Are there partners or distributors in the Middle East or Africa?
Ooh, I can't speak for about Africa, but yeah, you can go to wolfvision.com and certainly in the Middle East. In fact, I've met the guy. I'm going to draw a blank on his name, but yeah, if you go to wolfvision.com, you'll find a place to go look up contacts, look up our offices around the world.